નમસ્કાર. આજે ખૂબ જ ઇન્ટરેસ્ટિંગ અને ખૂબ જાણવા જેવો આપણો વેબિનાર છે. ડૉક્ટર દેસાઈ સાહેબ આપણને જે ભારતીયો માટેનું છુપી અને ખતરનાક બીમારીઓ, ધી સાયલન્ટ કિલર ઓફ ધી ઇન્ડિયન્સ છે, એના વિશે કહેશે. તો સૌથી પહેલાં હું આપ સૌનું અમારા જોય એકેડેમી અને ડીસી ગ્રુપ ઓફ સાયબર યોગીઝ તરફથી સ્વાગત કરું છું. આપ સૌ જાણો છો કે તમારી પાસે જો સ્વાસ્થ્ય હોય તો તમારે બીજા કોઈની જરૂર નથી, અને જો સ્વાસ્થ્ય ના હોય, આપણે સૌ જાણીએ છીએ, તો બીજું ગમે તેટલી વસ્તુ હોય, અને અનુભવ પણ થયો છે કે કોઈ કામનું નથી. એટલે આઈ સ્ટ્રોંગલી બિલીવ હેલ્થ ઇઝ વેલ્થ, હેલ્થ ઇઝ હેપીનેસ, હેલ્થ ઇઝ એવરીથિંગ. ધેરફોર હેલ્થ ફર્સ્ટ, દેટ ઇઝ મોસ્ટ ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ. અને હું માનું કે સારા ડૉક્ટર કોને કહેવાય? જે પ્રિવેન્શન ઇઝ બેટર દેન ક્યોર માને, એટલે પાણી પહેલા પાળ બાંધે. તો આપણે આજે ડૉક્ટર ભરતભાઈ દેસાઈ આપણને પાણી પહેલા પાળ બાંધવા માટેનું શીખવશે. અને બીજું, જે દરેક દર્દી અથવા તો દરેક વ્યક્તિની અંદર પણ સૂતેલો ડૉક્ટર હોય છે, એને જગાડી શકે, એને હું સારા ડૉક્ટર માનું છું. કારણ કે આ બધાને તમે ઓળખો છો, બરાબર ને? એમની પ્રાયોરિટી હેલ્થની નહોતી. એમણે ખૂબ સારું કામ કર્યું છે, ખૂબ પ્રગતિ કરી અને ઘણું બધું એચિવ પણ કર્યું હતું, અને આપણને પણ, સમાજને પણ ઘણું આપ્યું છે. પરંતુ એમની પ્રાયોરિટી હેલ્થની નહોતી, એટલે આપણાથી બહુ વહેલા જતા રહ્યા. અને સ્વામી વિવેકાનંદ વિશે આપ ગૂગલ કરીને જાણી શકો કે એમણે લોકો માટે ઘણું કર્યું, પરંતુ એનામાં કેટલી બીમારીઓ હતી, રાઈટ? તો આપણે બીમારીઓ ન આવે એના માટે આજે બધા મળ્યા છીએ સાહેબની પાસેથી થોડું શીખવા માટે. અને યુધિષ્ઠિરે કહ્યું હતું એમ કે આ ભણનારા, ભણાવનારા અને શાસ્ત્રનું ચિંતન કરનારા એ બધા જ એક રીતે તો વ્યસની માણસો કહેવાય, જો એ પોતાનામાં એક્શનમાં ના મૂકે તો. એટલે આ શ્લોકે મને ખૂબ અસર કરી. એટલે મેં મારામાં એક્શનમાં મૂકવા ટ્રાય કર્યો, મારું વજન ઘટાડ્યું, મારું ડાયાબિટીસ પણ કંટ્રોલ કર્યું, અને બ્લડ પ્રેશરની દવા પણ મેં ઘટાડી હતી. આજે આપણને ડૉક્ટર દેસાઈ સાહેબ જે કહેશે એ કોઈ પણ માણસને એની ટ્રીટમેન્ટ માટે કે એવું નથી. પોતે પોતાના ડૉક્ટરની એડવાઇસ લઈ અને એમને ડૉક્ટર જે પ્રમાણે કે એ પ્રમાણે કરવાનું છે. એમાં ડૉક્ટર દેસાઈ સાહેબ, હું કે બીજા કોઈની રિસ્પોન્સિબિલિટી નથી. અને અમે તો માત્ર એડવાઇસ આપીએ છીએ, અને આપણે ડિસ્કશન કરીશું કે આવું આવું ઘણી બધી વસ્તુઓ જે છે ખરેખર જાણવા જેવી છે, પણ આપણાથી છુપાયેલી હતી. તો ડૉક્ટર દેસાઈ સાહેબ, ભરતભાઈ દેસાઈ, એમનો ટૂંકમાં પરિચય આપું. બરોડા મેડિકલ કોલેજમાંથી ગ્રેજ્યુએટ થયા છે. અને બરોડા મેડિકલ કોલેજમાંથી ગ્રેજ્યુએટ થયા હોય એની તો વાત જ કરવાની હોય નહીં. અને યુએસએમાં ઘણા વર્ષોથી પ્રેક્ટિસ કરે છે. હમણાં અમે ત્રીજી વખત ગુજરાતના બધા ડૉક્ટરો એટલાન્ટામાં મળ્યા હતા. ત્યાં 3 દિવસ ખૂબ આનંદ કર્યો, ખૂબ સરસ આયોજન કર્યું હતું, બધાને મજા પણ આવી. એની સાથે સાથે આવું બધું શીખવા માટેના લેક્ચર્સ પણ હતા. એમાં અમે લગભગ 1600થી વધારે ડૉક્ટરો અને બીજા ફેમિલી સાથેના હતા. ભરતભાઈનું જે લેક્ચર હતું એ ભરચક હતું. ઓડિટોરિયમ ઊભા હતા ડૉક્ટરો બધા સાંભળવા માટે, અને એમને સમય ઓછો આપ્યો હતો. એટલે એના રેગ્યુલર જે કંઈ હોય એ પ્રમાણે અને પૂરું કરી દીધું. બધાએ રિક્વેસ્ટ કરી કે ભરતભાઈને હજી અમારે સાંભળવા છે, પણ એ લોકોનું ઓર્ગેનાઇઝર્સ જે હોય બધા, એમને લિમિટેશન્સ હોય, એટલે અમે સ્ટોપ કર્યો હતો એ કાર્યક્રમ ત્યારે. પછી ઘણા ક્વેશ્ચનો પૂછ્યા ડૉક્ટરો પાછળ ઊભા રહીને, પણ ત્યારે મારો વારો નહોતો આવ્યો ભરતભાઈને મળવા માટે. એટલા બધા રસાકસી થતી હતી એમને મળવા માટે અને એમના ક્વેશ્ચનો પૂછવા. એટલે મને વિચાર આવ્યો કે ભરતભાઈને આપણે ઇન્વાઇટ કરીએ, અને ગુજરાતીમાં આપણને કે ઇંગ્લિશને બદલે. એટલા માટે આજે આપણી સાથે ડૉક્ટર ભરતભાઈ દેસાઈ આવ્યા છે. થેન્ક યુ વેરી મચ ભરતભાઈ ફોર એક્સેપ્ટિંગ અવર ઇન્વિટેશન. અને આપ અમારા માટે અહોભાગ્ય છે કે ગુજરાતીમાં આપ બધું આ સમજાવવાના છો અમને. સ્લાઇડ્સ સ્ટોપ કરી દીધી દર્શન?
Yeah,
ડૉક્ટર ભરતભાઈ, you are
yes.
most welcome, and stage is yours.
Okay, thank you. Let me just share the slides. Okay. You can see my slides?
Yes.
Okay. So let me just Second. I need to change something. Hold on. I used to see my. Let me just unshare quickly. I need to change my. Arrange. I need to see my presenter notes and I don't see it. So let me just try again.
Or you might have to attach your external monitor again for that, maybe.
What is that?
You might have to attach your external monitor again.
Oh,
That's
I
probably. Mhm.
I disconnected it. Can I go on my laptop?
Yeah, yeah.
Join? Okay.
Yes, yes, certainly.
That is easy. So let me just quickly.
Mhm.
Sorry about that because the monitor was discontinued. So
Yeah, no worries.
sorry everybody. It was technical. So good morning, hello, and welcome everyone. And first of all, heartfelt thanks to Dr. Pansagra for giving me this opportunity to share this important message uh, with you all. Because let me lower the hold on. Sorry, I need to. There's too much. I need to close this windows. Okay, good. So I'm really honored to speak to such a diverse audience with attendees from India, US, and beyond, and including some of my friends and family have also joined. And thank you, all of you. I know your time is valuable, and I want to assure you that an hour spent will be well worth it. And that's my promise. I have chosen the topic for today's talk very carefully: the silent killer of Indians. It may sound dramatic and kind of scary, but it's not exaggeration. It really reflects very real and widespread problem that is often overlooked. And that killer is called metabolic dysfunction, which is kind of interconnected processes, including insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, oxidative stress. It's called disrupted energy metabolism, hormone imbalance, and cellular damage. So it's all bunched together, however you want to call it, but this is the process responsible for almost all major diseases. And in spite of that, there is no official diagnosis for insulin resistance in our ICD. The closest label is metabolic syndrome, which is actually definition by you have to meet 3 out of 5 criteria, including waist size, blood pressure, blood sugar, etc. But by the time you meet those criteria of metabolic syndrome, the damage already started years and years ago. So today we're going to explore what is this insulin resistance, how it starts, what drives it, and most importantly, what you can do about it, how you detect it and prevent it. And I will clear some of the common myths which are pervasive, and people get confused because they don't know who to believe, and they're following these guidelines, and even the medical orthodoxy guidelines are misguided, in my opinion. I'll give you the science-based evidence so you can decide yourself. Okay, so let's see why. So the basically in nutshell, what is insulin resistant is insulin is a hormone. Everybody knows that it controls the sugar, right? So it's a good hormone, right? But it's also bad. So in our body, actually, nothing is good or nothing is bad. Everything has to be precise and perfect in range. Otherwise, you're going to have problem. You look at it, blood pressure, too high is not good, too low is not good. Potassium, everything has to be. So insulin, you have to have very small amount, but we have to be sensitive to it. So in this problem with diabetes and metabolic syndrome and whatever you label it, obesity, we have lots of insulin, but the body is resistant to it, so it's not effective. So that's the part of the problem in type 2. Now compared to type 1 diabetes, we know there's no insulin, so that's all different ballpark altogether. Okay.
ભરતભાઈ, ગુજરાતીમાં જો થઈ શકે તો ઇંગ્લિશ શબ્દ ભલે આવે બધા
Okay.
ટેકનિકલ, કારણ કે ઓડિયન્સ ઘણું ગુજરાતી
Oh,
સમજી
okay,
રહ્યા છે.
okay.
આપણે
Yeah,
પહેલા
something
વાત
I,
થઈ છે
I know
એટલે
is I am
થોડું વોલ્યુમ વધારે. Yeah,
વોલ્યુમ વધારે. ઓકે, કારણ કે
તમારું.
ગુજરાતીમાં મને થોડું એ થશે પણ
નો પ્રોબ્લેમ.
ઓકે, તો બીજું એક તો આ જે ઇન્સ્યુલિન રેઝિસ્ટન્સ છે તે કેમ આટલું બધું ખતરનાક છે? કારણ કે 3 things. એક તો ઇઝ વેરી સ્લો, એટલે બહુ ધીરે ધીરે થાય, વર્ષો લાગે, રાઈટ? અને સાયલન્ટ મીન્સ ખબર જ નહીં પડે કે ઇન્સ્યુલિન રેઝિસ્ટન્ટ છે કે નહીં. ડોક્ટરો બી દે આર નોટ ફોકસ્ડ ઓન ઇટ એગ્રેસિવલી, અને આપણા દર્દીઓ પણ થોડું હોય તો કે છે ચાલો જવા દો. એટલા માટે ઇટ્સ રિમેન સાયલન્ટ એન્ડ ધ ડેમેજ, જે બીમારીની જે પ્રોબ્લેમ થાય તે વર્ષોથી થાય છે, અને દેટ ઇઝ ધ પ્રોબ્લેમ વિથ ધીસ. અને ડેડલી મીન્સ કે આ જ પ્રોસેસ જે હું કહું છું, ઇન્સ્યુલિન કોઝિસ બ્લડ પ્રેશર, obesity, weight gain, diabetes, cancer, the Parkinson, dementia, you name it. So just imagine one process causes all these problems. And that's why it's important. Almost in our Indian community, about 80% of all of us have insulin resistance. And even in USA, about 93% are unhealthy, actually, they call it metabolically, right? But the good news is if we catch early, we can reverse it and we can do something about it. So this is the graph which shows that the orange that is blood sugar, insulin, and the purple that is blood sugar. So you can see about for 15 years the blood sugar is still within the range, but look at the insulin is so high, right? So unless you check insulin level, you would not even know that you have this problem, right? And so this is what happens. Blood sugar stays normal, insulin quietly rises, and body needs more and more insulin to control your sugar. And pancreas, which insulin produce કરે છે, it gets exhausted. So what happens is insulin stop. You can see that it starts going down, and that's when the blood sugar goes up, and that's when we call diabetes. So by the time diabetes is diagnosed, even the mild diabetes, already 15 years of process and problem damage has started. So that's why it's important. This is you can see that India is like widespread. Even but the whole world is the same problem, right? But India is specifically is much more. 100 millions are diabetic, 136 are pre-diabetic, and there are probably more of them if you go strictly metabolic function criteria. I'm sure maybe 2 out of 4 or 3 out of 4 will be unhealthy, right? Fatty liver is 35% of Indians have fatty liver, and that fatty liver is not from alcohol. It's from this insulin or carbohydrates or whatever you want to call it. And 1 in 4 heart attacks occur before 40. And as I said, 80% of Indians are metabolically unhealthy. Now, why Indians are at higher risk for diabetes and heart disease, right? So that is also, everybody's higher risk, Americans, everybody. Indians are somehow a little bit higher. Part of the reason is the genetic, and also the modern lifestyle changes in India last 50 years. It's occurred very rapidly, right? And urbanization, so a lot of sedentary habits, chronic stress, and a diet full of processed food, refined carbohydrate, starch, and seed oil. So the vegetable oil is the worst enemy, and that is a big problem in all over the world. And they are so cheap; they are everywhere, right? So many Indian diets are also very low in protein and healthy fat, saturated fat. So that creates problem, and very high in omega-6 vegetable oils, which are sunflower, corn, soya bean, all those oils. So that is really metabolic disaster. And then you have excess screen time, WhatsApp, Facebook, poor sleep, exposure to pollution, and that all damages the mitochondria. So that's the reason Indians are a little bit more higher risk. And even at the same BMI, means the same weight hoy tamaru, to compare to Western Indians get fatty liver and coronary artery disease 10 to 15 years earlier. And that's why you see younger and younger Indians are dying of heart disease and heart attacks, right? So this is the slide which gives you all these diseases which which is not can be, it is proven. This is the link, and this is not a weak association. It is science. Links are strong, consistent, and well established. So you can see the diabetes, everybody knows about it, obesity, cancer, mental disorder, heart attack, PCOS, strokes, everything. So one single thing can affect everything, and that's why all these આ બધા રોગો વધવા માંડ્યા છે all over the world because of this problem, right? So we'll explore few in detail, just major ones, because we don't have a lot of time, right? So the first major one of the most damaging effect, એટલે એક danger effect of insulin resistance is atherosclerosis, which is plaque buildup. જે આપણે આર્ટરીમાં તમારું plaque buildup થાય, right? And that is the cause of everything. So when plaque builds up in heart artery, you get heart attack. Carotid arteries, you get a stroke, right? And high insulin is the one which harms the inner lining of the blood vessels and making them stiff and inflamed. And it raises the triglyceride and small dense LDL and a lower HDL. So if you see in India, a lot of people have high triglyceride and low HDL. And LDL could be normal or even a low, but still they will get heart attack because that is really atherogenic. And people don't focus on triglyceride and HDL, they focus on LDL, and even the doctors and cardiologists. So that is one of the problem, right? So over time, this hardening of the arteries and everything will cause high blood pressure, heart attack, strokes, and poor circulation. And this chart from Women Heart Initiative, it's really makes point very clear. In this long-term study, you can see the top one, type 2 diabetes, is like 10.9, so almost 1000% risk higher than, look at the smoking is like way down, right? Same thing in the blue, that's LPRI, is called lipoprotein insulin resistant, which is a test for basically insulin resistant or metabolic dysfunction, and that trumps even the LDL is way down there, you can see. So that's the reason it's so crucial. And then you have this brain, because what happens is when brain becomes insulin resistant, means when the brain cells do not listen to insulin, what happens? They cannot take the sugar. So the brain cells are starved. એટલે brain ને પછી energy મળે નહીં, એટલે they are starved. એટલે what happens is that causes over the damage of the cells and dementia and Parkinson's. So that's why many times dementia is nowadays sometimes called type 3 diabetes because of this reason, right? Okay. And this is the one everybody knows about. Diabetes, obesity, and fatty liver are the most important problems related to insulin resistance, and they are related. So it's not the obesity causes diabetes. Many times say obesity causes diabetes, obesity causes hypertension, right? But it's false. It's everything is part of the same spectrum. So basically you have a root which is insulin resistant, and it creates all these diseases. So what happens is when you have high insulin, તમારી બોડીમાં વધારે ઇન્સ્યુલિન હોય તો fat gets trapped in the liver and the belly. So you get fatty liver and you get the obesity, abdominal obesity, which is જે આપણા તમારી કમર વધે ને, that is most dangerous than any other fat, because that fat itself secretes some of the hormones which are very damaging to the body, right? So many times if you have this visceral fat, it itself feeds on its own, and you will be hard pressed to lose weight. You cannot control your sugar. You get all this problem, right? And finally, pancreas gets overworked. So then you get type 2 diabetes. Other major, what many times people don't know about erectile dysfunction, the men sexual problem, that is also related to that. PCOS, the young ladies ovarian problem, infertility, BPH, the prostate problem, sleep apnea, hearing loss, cancer, all those are related to that. So how do you develop insulin resistance, right? So I will explain a little mechanism. It's a little bit science involved, but I think it's important to understand. Otherwise, it's not just simple you eat carbohydrate and sugar goes up. The body does not work like that. Or you eat fat and it gets deposited into artery. It's much more complex than that. So it's too naive to assume that it's simple. Uh, More sugar, more diabetes. Doesn't work like that. So this is what happens. So let me just kind of, this is the slide. And your body is made of trillions of living cells, about 30 trillion, right? And they need energy to work, right? To survive, the repair and everything, just like everybody needs energy. And every cell has nucleus, which is the purple, and the mitochondria, which is the other oblong orange structure. So if you have healthy cells, the healthy body, right? If the cells are not functioning, whole body is like engine, right? So mitochondria. So inside the cell, the mitochondria is one of the most important factor out there. It's like, let me introduce to the mighty mitochondria. It's called really mighty because they're tiny engines inside every cell that keeps you alive and thriving, right? So it powers your heart, your muscle, your brains, everything. So if that is not functioning, you have all this problem, because basically it's like an engine which is not functioning properly. You will have every problem, right? So when mitochondria are damaged, whole system falters. And that's exactly happens in insulin resistance. And interestingly, actually, my journey to this
બહુ સારું છે ડેન્ટિસ્ટ જ છે બરાબર
so my journey is actually this started due to mitochondria and Mark Metternich, which is a photographer. So this is what it's like, short story.
ભરત થોડું ગુજરાતી થોડું ટ્રાય કરજે કારણ કે જો બધા
Okay, all right. So anyway, so I'll go on. So bottom line is the mitochondria છે તે તમારું બોડીમાં એનર્જી પ્રોડ્યુસ કરે, પાવર, રાઈટ? અને એ પાવર જો થાય નહીં તો પછી બધા પ્રોબ્લેમ શરૂ થાય, રાઈટ? So what goes wrong, right? So poor diet is આપણો જે diet છે, આપણો typical carbohydrate diet, which is like rice, wheat, roti, all those things. અને seed oils, પછી inactivity, exercise ના કરો, stress ને બધું કરો, તો then it damages the mitochondria, which I told you, right? So એટલે તમારે શું થાય કે પછી energy production goes down all over the body, and your cells are starved for fuel. We don't have enough food, right? So then તમારું brain sends this signal કે we're not having enough energy, so it goes into survival mechanism. And what are those? Brain liver ને મોકલે message કે we don't have enough food, produce more sugar. So liver start making more sugar and dumps it into the blood. That's why you get a high blood sugar, right? And the brain also increases hunger because you need energy. Brain only uses glucose. એટલે brain ખાલી sugar જ વાપરી શકે, fat વપરાય નહીં brain થી. એટલા માટે, and brain is most important, right? It's hungry. It consumes 25% of energy is consumed by brain, right? So if you don't have that, brain says, I don't care, get hungry, they will eat more, or they will also make you weak and tired, so you conserve the energy. That's why typically if you're insulin resistant, or you will feel like you don't feel like doing exercise, right? You feel like keep eating all the time. And many times આપણે blame patient ને કરીએ કે ભાઈ he's lazy છે, બહુ ખાય છે, addicted food, but it's all related to the hormone. Your body tells you to do that, okay? And so what happens is, with this mechanism, sugar goes up, and then because sugar is very bad, right? High sugar, so pancreas pumps more insulin to bring the sugar down. So the insulin goes up, અને પછી શું થાય કે too much insulin એટલે પછી તમારા body cells start not listening, right? If you કોઈને તમે બહુ ટોક કરો તો you will not listen, right? So that's exactly happens. So body says, I'm not going to listen. So what happens is the sugar goes up, pancreas puts more insulin, and this whole vicious cycle goes on. And that's how you get the problem. So we start with one thing and then leads to all these issues. Now, what are the causes? And we know that one of the overeating, these modern lifestyle habits, આપણો diet main તો especially આપણા Indian અને આપણા vegetarian and Gujarati and બધા, they all, our diet is, even Americans, is a lot of carb, about 50 to 60% or average American diet is carbohydrate. Ideally, it should be 10 to 20%, right? So that is a problem. And other thing, processed foods, આ બધા પેકેટમાં આવે આ તે, એમાં છે ને, there are so many chemicals. પછી પેલા oil આવે, toxic, કહું છું, sunflower, corn, canola. So that damages the most the mitochondria. And then you don't have enough protein or good healthy fat, saturated fat especially, because we have been told saturated fat is bad. એટલા માટે we cutting down the fat, right? So because of that, poor sleep, high stress, all these problems starts. So what are the warning signs there, right? Insulin resistance. So before you get the blood test, so one is the slow progressive weight gain. So like even in 20s and 30s, if somebody starts maybe pound or two a year, slowly you neglect, but that is one of the sign. If your waistline is going up, right? If you have skin tags or darkened spots around the neck, then unexplained fatigue means if તમારે થાક બહુ લાગે, પછી brain fog, તમારું mind બહુ ચાલે નહીં. So those are all the signs of insulin resistance because something is wrong. And a pathologic hunger, which is you get hungry, તમને ભૂખ લાગે તો એટલી ભૂખ લાગે તમારે ખાવું જ પડે, અને તમને ક્રેવિંગ થાય સ્વીટ ખાવાનું ને સ્ટાર્ચ ખાવાનું, because it gives instant energy brain ne, કારણ કે brain is starving, એટલે brain is telling you give me quick energy, give me food, and they don't want meat or eggs because the fat takes a while to get the energy. They want quick release, so they want pure sugar. So that's why you have a craving for sweets. And you get tired also after meals because you suddenly don't have enough glucose for the brain. And hangry is not a typo, but it's a really, what it means is when you get angry when you are hungry. So if you have pathologic hunger, when you get, તમે ભૂખ લાગે તો એટલી લાગે, તમે ગુસ્સો આવે ને તમે, people have a lot of problems with that. So that's called hangry, and that is typical that. પછી blood pressure થોડું જવા માંડે, તો that is sign of insulin resistant. ઘણીવાર બીપી થોડું આવે તો આપણે કહે કંઈ નહીં, આ તો મીઠાને લીધે ને salt, but it's probably insulin resistant. So these are the skin tags. You can see few stops. So those are the early signs. And then these are the dark spots around the neck. Okay, now kaya test કરવા જોઈએ, right? So these are the basic which આપણે બધા, I'm sure familiar છો કે CBC, CMP, I don't know India માં ખબર, lipid panel, TSH બધું કરે. But only thing is the insulin level which is not checked routinely, અહીંયા બી નથી કરતા, કોઈ જગ્યાએ નથી કરતા. That is very, very important. It's a very simple, inexpensive test. Everybody should, બધાને કરવો જોઈએ. Tell your doctor to do it. And all it, the HOMA IR is an index. So તમારી insulin level હોય, અને CMP છે એમાં fasting blood sugar આવે, એને તમારે ગુણમાં multiply કરવાનું, divided by 4 or 5. So ideally 1 is perfect, right? If you can do it. But about 2 હોય તો you're going to worry about it. તમારે you're already developing insulin resistance. અને જે HSCRP છે એ inflammationનો test છે, because inflammation is very important now in everything. If you have high inflammation body, you're going to, તમારા plaques પેલા હોય blockage, rupture થાય and causes a heart attack, right? So these are the tests. Now in your lipid profile, as I said, panel માં high triglyceride વધારે હોય, HDL, which is called good cholesterol, is low. So that is a sign of the insulin resistance. એટલે ratio કરો તો it should be, ideally should be 1 or less, but it's very hard, people have it. So at least it should not be about 2. Okay. When fasting insulin, I told you about HOMA INR. પછી fatty liver or ultrasound, elevated ALT, which is a liver no enzyme, એ બી થોડો 30 ની ઉપર હોય તો you have to start worrying about it. And microalbuminuria, so this is very, very crucial. It's a protein in the urine હવે તો બધા ચેક કરે છે, but that is very early warning sign of insulin resistance, because the kidney damage starts way early, even before you get the diabetes. And before you get your kidney function abnormal, you will start having this protein in the urine, right? So those are the basics. Now, since this thrombosis, આપણે કહે છે plaque ને heart attack ને, that is a main danger effect. So I just put some detailed test, which are, I don't want to go in detail, but these are the something you might want to discuss with your cardiologist or physician to order that. If you have family history of heart attack or stroke, or if you have had, and if you're concerned, those markers, will give you much more information about the process of atherosclerosis, because the buildup of plaques is not just the cholesterol and fat, which is wrong. There is a lot of other things involved. There is inflammation, there is thrombosis, and endothelial damage with the, right? Those are the tests, and this is the imaging study. Means CAT scan, these are the 4 tests. Out of these 2, which is coronary artery calcium, which is simple non-invasive CAT scan test, and carotid intima media thickness, which is ultrasound of the carotids. But this is a special test. It's simple. Most of people don't do it, but those are very helpful. The coronary artery calcium score that gives you information about hard plaques. So there are plaques which are hard, they don't, break nahi થાય ને, that won't cause a heart attack. But the soft one are the dangerous one, because that, if they rupture and then you get the blood clot on top of it, suddenly your artery will be closed and you'll get heart attack or sudden cardiac death, right? So those are the 2 important. And then based on this result, your doctor can decide whether you want advanced testing like CTA or cardiac cath. All right. Now, other thing is about this stress test fallacy, right? A lot of people think, oh, I have a normal stress test, so I am fine. Because that is wrong. Because the stress test, which cardiologists do for screening, or if you have symptoms, it will be abnormal only if there is a significant narrowing, 70% or above, and if there is no collateral circulation, એટલે સાઇડની ચેનલો ના થતી હોય તો, right? But here is the key. You don't need major blockage to have heart attack. You could have a very tiny 10%, but if it is soft, unstable plaque, it can rupture, causes inflammation, and suddenly the blood clots form, and that artery would be blocked completely. And either, if it is a major artery, you could even have sudden death, arrhythmias, or heart attack and whatnot. So that is a problem. So it's not just the plaque size or whatever you want to call it, is what type of plaque and what is your body's. If there's a lot of inflammation, thrombosis in your body, then you're going to have a problem, because the rupture plaque is a problem. And a well-known example in US, everybody probably remember Tim Russert, long time NBC host, Meet the Press. In April 2008, he passed the stress test perfectly okay, without any red flags. And 2 months later, he died suddenly from a heart attack. An autopsy revealed a rupture plaque that caused a thrombosis. So that is the reason. And you see a lot of sudden cardiac death, even in South India, I think Kerala, something, there was a recent news, the young people were dying and there was a big queue at the cardiac center. And that is part of the problem. You don't have to have a very advanced atherosclerosis. All you need is the unstable plaque and this environment, this inflammation, thrombosis, insulin resistance, and there is some genetics involved too in the South Indians. That's called LPA. I put it in that slide, and if that is high, and I think 30% of South Asian or South Indian have that LP little a, they call it. So I put it in my previous slides. It should be checked once, and if it is high, then your risk goes up, and then you really have to be very, I would say, aggressive in reducing your insulin resistance. Otherwise, you are at very high risk of heart attacks and strokes, right? So these are the some of the most important biomarkers for evaluating and tracking your metabolic health. So basically, when I talk about insulin, metabolic, this is the metabolic health. You want to be metabolically healthy. So this elite group, if you are into that group, your risk of all these diseases almost like plummets tremendously, right? So a lot of people are in the average to even dysfunction, and at that level you think, oh, nothing is wrong, કશું નથી, ડાયાબિટીસ બહુ ઓછું છે ને માઇલ્ડ છે ને, અને that is a part of the problem, right? અને if you can monitor this over the time, then it's helpful. I can send this later on with PDF, so I know there are a lot of issues in there, but I don't have time to discuss each one of them. But basically, whatever I told you about earlier, right? Now, why this epidemic remains hidden, right? કે કેમ આટલું બધું છે, we know કે આટલો ડેન્જર છે, તો કેમ people ને ખબર કેમ નથી લોકોને, ડોક્ટરો ભાઈ? So there are few things. એક તો પેશન્ટ આપણા ડિસમિસ અર્લી વોર્નિંગ સાઇન, લાઈક થોડી બેલી ફેટ હોય, થોડું વધ્યું હોય, બોર્ડરલાઇન શુગર હોય, એલિવેટેડ થોડું એ હોય તો કે હા કંઈ વાંધો નથી, મારું બધું બરાબર છે. અને અમુક ગુજરાતી and Indians, we have a tendency to downplay the health issues, right? We always say, oh, કશું નથી, મારે તો શુગર બી નથી ને આ બી નથી ને, it probably they are like taking medication for it. So that is a reason, because we don't know the danger, right? અમને ખબર નથી કે આ કેટલું ડેન્જરસ વસ્તુ છે આ, એટલે naturally. And then doctors are not stressing that. Even if you go to the doctors nowadays, and I was one of them, right? And I am not saying that because that's how we knew કે ભાઈ આવું થોડું હોય, ચાલો હિમોગ્લોબિન A1C 6 છે તો કંઈ વાંધો નહીં, તમે થોડું શુગર ઓછું કરો, થોડું આ ઓછું કરો, રાઈટ? અથવા તરું વધારે ચાલવા જાઓ, અને આવું તેવું જસ્ટ perfunctory advice આપો, right? But that is, we don't realize that the problem starts and is already there, and you have to be really aggressive and scared about it. So that is part of the problem. Now, waist circumference, right, which nobody will measure it, but that is very important, powerful predictor, but nobody does it. And then other problem is this, the failure of modern medicine. And this is the very crucial, because the modern guidelines, it's crazy, do not emphasize early detection of insulin resistance. એ લોકો, there is no diagnosis for insulin resistance. American Diabetic Association, ADA, American Diabetic Association, does not recommend fasting insulin. Even if you go to endocrinology, I bet they are not even doing it. Why? I don't know why. It's absolutely such a powerful test, simple, easy. So that is other reason, because you could have normal sugar, as I showed earlier, right? And A1C normal for 15 years, and your insulin keeps going up way before. And unless you check the insulin, you will never know. And the damage starts at the time, right? So, and the second thing is this reference range, normal, which is also misleading, right? Everybody thinks within the range. So the range is really not a normal, but it is just, if the population is unhealthy, the range goes more, right? So like 25-30 વર્ષ પછી બધા જો ઓબીસ થવા માંડશે તો પછી ઓબેસિટીની ડેફિનેશન વિલ ગો અપ. શુગર હમણાં 99 છે, right? 99 sugar is still within the range if you look at your reference, but 99 is very high, to be honest with you. That is a serious problem. You need to worry about it. Actually, the body આપણી એવી છે કે it tries very tightly to control your sugar between 60 to 80. And when the sugar goes up fasting, that means there is something wrong way up there. Why? Because body is trying everything and is not able to do it. So that is important. And this is a major blind spot in opportunity prevention, because if you start early, I think people will adapt. If you give right advice, they will listen. I'm sure everybody wants to be healthy. So, but we are blaming patients many times. They are not following, and they are not doing this, and they are ખાય બહુ છે ને કસરત કરતા નથી ને આવું બધું problem. But advice be wrong આપે છે. It's from institution, and which is sad part of the story. So what fueled this epidemic, right? So this diabetes, obesity, heart disease છેલ્લા 1900, beginning of century થી વધવા માંડે છે, right? For 1977, then it took off very high. I don't have the graph there, And that's when the guidelines this came, USDA and American, કે ભાઈ fat is bad, fat ઓછું ખાઓ, carbohydrate ખાઓ, ને ફલાણું ઢીકણું, ને red meat is bad, ને eggs are bad, ને ઘી ને દૂધ, cheese બધું bad છે. So that created the problem. So let me just kind of quickly go over it. So this low fat obsession, right? So the entire metabolic crisis was fueled by this flawed belief. It's a wrong belief that saturated fat causes heart disease. Absolutely, there is no truth. And I could go on, I could have a whole lecture for 1 hour about to show what, why and what not, and what evidence we have, right? So that, and I think why they are blaming saturated fat, meat and everything, here go, everybody's eating. So it's in the context, means કે saturated fat તમે બહુ ખાઓ, પણ if you are also taking a lot of carbohydrates and those oils, and if your insulin is high, and if you're metabolically unhealthy, then that fat is going to get deposited. So you are worse off, right? So if you have a lot of burgers and fries and Diet Coke and everything, so it's not the, so to be, so if you have a McDonald's Happy Meal or whatever meal, right? Burgers, fries and Diet Coke. So what is the healthiest part of that? Beef patty is the healthiest part of that film. The bread is worse, the tomato ketchup, the fries are probably the poison because of the oil and reheating oil, right? And Diet Coke. So everybody is blaming, oh, because we're eating a lot of burgers and we're eating red meat having problems. So that is absolutely, and I know a lot of are vegetarian, but I'm telling you that it's not pure vegetarian diet is not always better than the other, right? As long as, so when you have low fat, saturated fat, what happens is all the fat soluble vitamin A, D, E, K2, which are very crucial for immune function, antioxidant defense, and they are very low. And I in my practice, I test vitamin D, almost everybody is very, very low. And K2 we don't check, but I guarantee if you are on low fat diet, you're going to have a low these vitamins, and they are very crucial. I will, in my segment of supplement, I'll tell you what you can do, right? So, and then what happened? These fats were replaced by what? Because when they took out the fat, they had to put something, or you have to eat something. So then you're eating refined carbohydrates, which are like bread, pastas, pizzas, all those things, and the oils. And those are the true villains. So let me be clear, the dietary fat, what you eat is the healthy one I'm talking about, like your full fat dairy, full fat milk, cheese, yogurt, eggs, meat, fish. They do not clog your arteries. It's inflammation, oxidation, and metabolic dysfunction, right? So let me just give, so this is the AHA guideline, American Heart Association Dietary Guidelines. It is even now, and it is so sad that they are doubling down. They are saying, oh my God, why we are having, so these guidelines were done, I think 70s or USDA guideline was 1977. This, I don't know when exactly, but this is the current guidelines. And આ બધા American have been following. We have been following, whole world has been following this diet, right? For 50 years, 60 years. What has happened? Has the heart attack has gone down? It should have gone down significantly. No, it has gone up actually, right? And still the heart disease, heart attack remains the leading cause of death. And then obesity, diabetes and everything is going up because of this guideline. And if this had worked, wouldn't we see the better results? But it's not there. And there were no trials જે compare કરે કે this diet compared to high fat, low carb diet. There's no studies. So I bet if they do compare this, if the study is done, they will be worse than the high fat, low carb diet. Okay. So I think we have to question that. And then other problem is this LDL, the fixation with LDL. So two fixations. One is a fat phobia, you hate fat, especially saturated fat, and second is LDL, lower LDL at all the cost, and it's very dangerous medical obsession. And the LDL really is not a villain, right? It plays important roles. એટલે આપણી બોડીમાં immune તમારી defense માટે કરે, repair, in fight infections and everything, right? Only harmful when it gets oxidized, means oxidize ક્યારે થાય? When you have this metabolic dysfunction, you have inflammatory environment I'm talking about. So if you have that, then the LDL becomes harmful. So it's not LDL's fault, it's the whole environment of the body. So other thing is if you have very low LDL, and it's been proven studies, especially in elderly, you're going to die earlier from infection, sepsis, and death. The risk goes up, and absolutely. And still, we are lowering. We say, "Oh my, lower the better, lower the better." So, it's totally false or misguided, I would say. So the real question is, if you have to choose between, let's say you have two different patients, right? Okay, LDL lower karo ke metabolic health improve karo, right? And there are medication, there are diet for it too, right? So LDL usually are statins, PCSK9, and metabolic health. If you are unhealthy, you can do metformin and a few other drugs. I'll tell you in a minute. So if you have those two options, the improving metabolic health will be win by wide margin. There is no comparison, absolutely no comparison, right? So if two people, one lowers the LDL with whatever it takes, another person improves their HOMA-INR or insulin resistance, the other person is going to much less likely heart attack and he's going to live longer, right? So I think we need to focus on that. So obsession is with lowering LDL has distracted us from this what truly matters, which is this metabolic dysfunction, right? And because of this fixation with widespread use of statin has been used for like so many years, right? And you see the heart attacks and everything should have been wiped out, kind of. One of the cardiologists was boasting, I think in 70s or something. Oh, now we know fat causes the heart disease, and now we have, cholesterol and fat, and with low fat diet and statins, heart disease will be wiped out like a plague. That's what he predicted 30, 40 years ago. And is it wiped out? It's actually increasing the incidence, right? The people live longer from heart attack because we have higher technology and other benefit of urgent cares and everything. But the rate of heart atherosclerosis is not going down, right? And after the statin was not enough, so now they have PCSK9, those Rapatha and all that. They want to lower even more. And I have few slides and show you what are the benefits and risk, right? So this is let's look at briefly these medications. This is the few trials. I just put it together for 1, 2, 3. That's a major 6 trials, right? And they were also like one of the, Robert says, oh, it's like a penicillin to the atherosclerosis, right? And so what happened was they were pharmaceutical companies, everybody, oh, it's a 40% reduction, 30% reduction, everybody was happy. But that was kind of relative risk reduction, only benefits only 0.6%. So just if 170 માણસો લે દવા 1 વર્ષ, તો એમાંથી એક જ જણને ઇન્સિડન્સ બેનિફિટ થાય. 169 199 ને કશું બેનિફિટ નહીં, અને they will take side effects. Forget about cost. The side effects are very serious, muscle pain, and as a matter of fact, statin worsens your insulin resistance and makes you new onset diabetes. It's definite proven side effect. So it's double whammy. Now, so when statins are called life-saving or penicillin of the heart disease, we have to ask, based on what? Give me the evidence. Give me the evidence, right? There's no evidence. If I tell you, hey, you want to take this medicine, you have a 1% less chance of getting heart attack every year, and you're going to keep taking it with all these side effects and stuff, and let the patient decide if they want to take it. So I'm not here to tell you, hey, you should stop your statins or you should do this, but these are the questions you should ask your cardiologist, or determine yourself whether is it right for you, right? It has some benefit, but it's not from lowering LDL. It has something else, and we cannot go in that detail right now. And then what happens if you really question the statins? You will be called statin deniers, and everybody will ridicule you and stuff like that. So this is the Jupiter trial where the rosuvastatin, they said 50% reduction, right? And it was a big news, and oh my God, it's such a powerful, they said, results. They stopped the trial earlier. So now that 50%, if you look at it, I know it's like so only reduction is 0.9%. So you can see 99% don't get it and 98%. So bottom line is there is like a minuscule benefit of the statins. and the most benefit was from the reduction of inflammation. Same thing with PCSK9, which is like a Rapathai expensive. And if you look at NNT, number needed to treat, so that is the best way to compare. How many કેટલા લોકોને દવા લે તો એક જણને ફાયદો થાય એનું છે, રાઈટ? તો you can see PCSK9 માં 147 and colchicine, which is also now used for inflammation in a lot of cardiologists also started using it. It's shown to benefit. It's the same number of benefit, right? And it's much safer drug. All right, so now enough about what it is and what no. Now the best thing is what can you do about it? So that is, I'm sure everybody wants to know, and that is most crucial, because if you can do something about it, and the most important, these are the lifestyle intervention to improve. So diet, nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress reduction, and avoidance of environmental and dietary toxins, right? So first, these are the harmful, right? So now I know this probably looks like a list of all your favorite foods, right? But sadly, it's one of the harmful foods. And if you are really serious about reversing insulin resistance, protecting your mitochondria, then you have to sacrifice this and you have to figure it out better alternative. And good news is there are plenty of healthy and delicious alternatives you can do. So these are just the rough, I put whatever the common foods are. So those are so I think in the diet guidelines, right, one of the most important is not what you eat, but what you avoid, and that is the key. And I'm telling you, so like pure vegetarian diet, right? If they like our ઋષિ મુનિઓની જેમ ખાતા હતા બાફેલું ને આ કરો ને whole grain, so you'll have no problem, even though it's tons of carbohydrates, right? So that is the key. So all the diets are better, Mediterranean, high fat diet, because they avoid processed food, which is all this packet માં આવે બધું તે પટેલ બ્રધરમાંથી બાય કરો તે સોરી. અને ઓઇલ્સ જે આપણે તળો અને જે ઓઇલ આપણે તો ફ્રાય બહુ કરીએ ભજીયા અને આ તે બધું કરો ને if you heat in that કોઈ પણ ઓઇલ, right, સીડ ઓઇલ આપણું મગફળી કે તેલનું, અને પછી 2 કે 3 વાર હીટ કરો, so that is literally poison. અને આપણે ઇન્ડિયામાં તો કેટલી વાર 4, 5, 6 વાર એ તેલમાં તળે જલેબી, ભજીયા, ગાંઠિયા, right? So that is the problem. So you have to really reduce that. Then seed oils is one of the most dangerous food item introduced in this human history for last 100 years. It was introduced in 1900 with Crisco, and now it's like widespread. You cannot live without them. Everywhere you check your labels, food labels, soya bean oil, these oil, all oils are there. And try to avoid as much as you can. The healthy oils are coconut oil, which is from the fruit, avocado and olive. They are from the fruit. And coconut is actually saturated fat, and other two are the monounsaturated fat. So ghee, butter, I mean ghee is very good, right? And one of the, but we were told, oh, don't ghee nahi khawanu, butter nahi khawanu, cheese nahi khawanu. So let me just give you roughly the carbohydrates when I was saying refined carbohydrate and what is simple. So refined are your sugar, maida, bread, pasta, and then natural is like your vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and the fibers are in your oats and celery and stuff like that. So when I meant refined, you try to avoid refined carbohydrate as much as possible. If you want to eat carb, you have to eat natural carbs, complex and with fiber, right? So this is the carbohydrate. Now, if you are metabolically healthy, then you don't have to limit tremendously. But if you are insulin resistant or if you're diabetic, you have to reduce the carbohydrate to 50 to 100 grams, which is not a lot. And if you can do that, so low carb diet with good healthy fat and a little fasting, that will reduce your insulin over time and reverse the process slowly. It's a slow thing, right? And prefer complex carbs, as I said, and avoid the fermented carbs is good. So આપણા ખાવામાં fermented વસ્તુ કે ઇડલી, ઢોકળા, આ તે બધું છે ને, that is much better food, because when you ferment, એટલે તમે આથો ને, તો I think it doesn't give the rise of insulin as much as your regular food. So try to do that. And vinegar before carbohydrate meal also helps. And I think walking after carbohydrate meal is also good, because burn that sugar so it doesn't get deposited, right? Now, about the proteins, quickly, these are the animal protein and plant proteins. Animal includes your all dairy products and cheese and eggs, meat, fish, and stuff, right? And the plant is all the rest. Now, many times we have proteins in legumes and all those, but they are not that much. So you really need a lot of protein. So this is the next slide. You need about 1 gram per pound body weight જોઈએ minimum. And if you are elderly, if you are exercising, or if you are losing muscle, and if you want to build muscle, you may need more, right? So very essential for building તમારું muscle કરવા bone માટે જરૂર. અને animal protein provides all essential amino acids. So it's much better if you can. I mean, if you don't eat meat and everything, at least dairy is good, because you got to have a lot of protein. Otherwise, get a whey protein. If you don't, you can buy the whey protein powder from grass-fed cows, and you can just drink 1 or 2 smoothies every day. So you have to take more protein. And also now the fats, and that is a big important topic I want to talk about. So these are the saturated fat. Everybody knows about the meat, cheese, and coconut is also saturated fat. Coconut is very good saturated fat. And coconut, as you see, there is one tribe, Kitwans or something in Pacific Islanders. Their diet is 60 to 70% coconut, because they live in those islands, right? And that's all saturated fat. And they were the healthiest population for generation. So coconut is good. So you can eat dry coconut, coconut milk, whatever. And if you are okay with eggs is one of the most superfood besides your dairy. So આપણા ગુજરાતીઓ અને vegetarian માટે your options is lot of dairy products. And don't, ઘણા લોકો કહેવો કે dairyથી bad થાય ને this is not, unless you are intolerant, nothing is wrong with the dairy. That's only an eggs if you are eating. Otherwise, then you have to do nuts and seeds and stuff like that. So the MUFA, this monounsaturated fatty acid, is also healthy, and that's olive, avocado, and all those, right? And PUFA, so polyunsaturated fatty acid, that is the problem. And omega-6, because omega-6 is inflammatory and omega-3 is anti-inflammatory, so that fights against, right? So you need both, because to balance, right? In body there's nothing. If you have tons of omega-3 and not enough omega-6, there's also a problem, right? So you need a good ratio, and ideally it should be 1 to 1 or something like that, but we have like 20 to 1 in America. So we eat too much omega-6, and in India probably same thing too. So then you say, oh, take omega-3 more, but I would rather cut down omega-6, and that will be healthy. And omega-6 is most of them is coming in vegetable oils. Now some of the nuts and seed will have omega-6 linoleic acid, but that's the reason I say natural food is always good, because nature has put antioxidants in those nuts and seed, vitamin E and everything. They are protected. So if you get the nut oil, almond is good, but if you take almond oil, because it's destroyed all those antioxidants and fibers and nutrients, so you end up with all this bad stuff. Okay, so try to cut that omega-6, and these are the recommendation dietary fat. So you need to increase, ideally, for 50 to 60%, I would say, more the better, the fat, if you can. And focus on saturated fat, MUFA, and omega-3 PUFA. Okay, avoid omega-6 if you can. And then cholesterol in food does not raise your cholesterol, it will clog arteries. So egg yolk is perfectly okay to have it. You can have tons of egg yolk. Okay, because we have been told, oh no, cholesterol is going to go directly to the artery. It's wrong. So these are the foods. I just put a list that all dairy products are good. Chas, dahi, full fat, don't go low fat. Okay, a cheese, and then you have all this butter, ghee, virgin olive oil, avocado. Cooking made, I think it's coconut oil or ghee butter, because even if you eat olive oil, heat olive oil or avocado oil, they get oxidized and creates problems. So any oils, any fat, if you keep it to air, light, oxygen, or heat, they get oxidized and they get damaged, and they produce all these nasty chemicals, and that is part of the problem. And that damages the cells and mitochondria, and that's the process starts, right? So be careful of that. Otherwise, you're all nuts and vegetables, except like your starchy vegetable and fruits. You can have it, but in moderation. But the fruit juices are worse. They are as bad as sugar or Coca-Cola, because you just have pure sugar. Fructose is even worse. Fructose is as bad as alcohol, actually, because they all metabolize in the liver. So if you like fruits, eat whole fruits and berries and stuff, and avoid આપણા tropical fruits જે આપણે ખાઈએ છીએ ઇન્ડિયામાં, those are the worst. Mango, papaya, banana, there are lots of sugar and calorie and carbohydrate. Okay, so that's about the diet. The grains you limit if you can. I mean, if you can get away, if you do without grain is ideal, because you don't need grains to survive, number one. But આપણે grain ના કાઢો તો ખાઈએ શું? That is a big problem, right? એટલે we have to try the least harmful કરવાનું. Quinoa is not a grain, but is one of the best one for protein and everything. So if you can get quinoa, eat lots of quinoa. અને પછી રાજગરો, મોયરું ને તમારું જુવાર બાજરી આવે. But worse is wheat, even worse than rice, because the current wheat is like a very genetically modified. And when they do flour, they destroy. It's just totally pure sugar, white sugar. There's nothing else in there. And then they put vitamins and minerals afterwards, and they think is heart healthy or whatnot. So now other thing is when to eat and how much to eat, right? So this portion control is not needed. And everybody control the portion. No, the body, if you need it, like if you're hungry and your body needs the energy, you're going to eat it. So nothing you can do about it. So the only way to really control your weight and portion is let the body satisfy their needs for energy and hunger, and then it will automatically work, right? And never go hungry till you are like starving, and eat up to 7, like 7 out of 10. Don't go all the way up to the 4. Now the fasting, I want to spend few minutes in fasting. Fasting is very important. And if you're diabetic, and if you really want to, because you have to do a lot of efforts to reverse. I mean, it's not simple. Oh, you tried this diet for 3 months and you think it's reverse. No, it takes long time, because it took long time to get there. So besides diet, you can do fasting, because remember, તમે ખાઓ નહીં તો insulin goes down. So as you stop eating, because insulin, if it stays high, then you get a low sugar and you're going to have to pass out, right? So longer you fast, longer your insulin drops and you benefit. Now, the problem is fasting is not about just the willpower. It's about metabolic flexibility. So let me explain a little bit. So metabolic flexibility means કે તમારી બોડીને, you have બે વસ્તુ, glucose, sugar and fat. બે energy. The protein not used for the energy usually, right? So the fat and the sugar, those are the used for energy. And normally, if a healthy body, you are flexible. You can use fat whenever you need. If you don't have enough sugar, you can use fat. And if you have a lot of sugar, you can store fat. So that works beautifully. But the problem with insulin resistant diabetic, they lose that flexibility. So they are stuck. They're stuck in the glucose mode. So they cannot utilize fat, because insulin blocks the utilization of fat. So what happens is, if you try to fast, if you're diabetic or anything, you're going to get hungry in a few hours, and then because your body is not able to use the fat, and if you don't eat for 4-6 hours, your sugar is going to go down, and brain say, oh my God, no, you need to eat. So it's difficult, but as you adapt slowly to this metabolically safer environment with low carb, high fat, exercise, and slowly increasing interval of fasting, then you can adapt. And once you are into the fat mode, then you will be able to, you can 24-36 hours, you won't even feel hunger, because the body will gladly take that fat and feed your brain, right? So that is the key, that which is wrong with this current system, because you cannot utilize your fat. So insulin, all it does is whatever you eat, sugar, it just deposits, it makes it, because it cannot use it, and you get this weight gain and everything. So everything will reverse slowly, right? So now let's talk about supplements. What are the essential supplements? Because very important. Almost everybody's in these key supplements. And first I'll start with the magnesium. As you can see, almost everybody is deficient in magnesium, and you need about sorry, did I go back? Vitamin D3. So magnesium you need about 400 to 800 every day. Okay, and your blood test serum magnesium does not reflect to magnesium level. Is RBC magnesium. You can get that checked. But trust me, if you can tolerate it, you take magnesium, you're not going to go wrong with that, right? Number two is important is vitamin D3. Almost everybody is deficient. You need tons and tons. And one of my friends says, oh, you need lots and lots. So I would say at least 5,000 for most of us. And especially if you're on low fat diet and everybody has a myth, oh, sun exposure, it will help. But if you're fat, if you don't have a fat, and especially if you take vitamin D supplements and without fat, they're not going to get absorbed. So it's very, very crucial. And it helps not just the bones, but it overall metabolic health helps also. So that's very crucial. Same thing, vitamin K2, we don't check it. And again, if you are on a low fat diet and if you are deficient in vitamin D3 and magnesium, then you're going to have a K2 problem. So you got to take some K2 and with fat again. But B12, most of the vegetarian, and if you're on metformin, you will be low. So I would take that also or get it checked level. CoQ10 is also important if you're on statins or if you get tired easily, because statin reduces CoQ10. So you might want to take that. Omega-3, as we said, yes, important. If you're not eating fish 2 to 3 times a week, you have to take supplement, because most of us are deficient in omega-3, which fights the infection, right? Vitamin C, if you're not eating too much fruits and vegetable, then you may need it, but not really. Now, this other one is the calcium, which you don't need from supplements, and that is, people don't realize it. So this is what happened. If you take calcium without enough D3, K2 or magnesium, and if you're on low fat diet, what will happen? It can backfire. So instead of calcium going to the bones, it's going to go deposit into arteries and it's going to cause atherosclerosis. So you'll have osteoporosis and you'll have plaques. And so the food-based calcium is okay, but avoid too much calcium supplements unless you are very, very low. Okay. So that's about nutrition. Quickly, now the second is exercise, which is also very important. And whatever you can do, but I think these are the few I put it. So the zone 2 cardio is like when you brisk walk or light run, where your heart rate goes up to 70% of maximum predicted. And if you can, 45 to 60 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week. I know it's a lot, but that's a goal. You can do it. Now the VO2 max, the HIIT or sprint, which is like you run for very short time and then you rest, or you can go on treadmill for short time and then kind of rest. But you have to push yourself to almost 90 to 100% maximum. So that's called sprinting, right? Where you're going to, and at that, if you can do whatever way, that is very good for belly fat and cardiorespiratory fitness. That is the best for the cardiorespiratory fitness. If you can do that, and you don't need a lot, 30 minutes, couple times a week. So you go for all the way you can, keep your heart rate based, make sure you are check with your doctors, make sure what is your heart rate they target, and go for a minute or two, whatever you can until you cannot go in, and then rest and then go again. So that's called, and you can learn about this online, a lot of videos. As strength training you need, like squats, deadlifts, and other stuff to improve your muscles and bone, and stretching and balance exercises to prevent falls and injuries, and stress reduction. You need meditation, yoga, and all those things. Right? Now, this is just the simple guide. We start with simple things. If you are not doing any activities, even the small walk is a lot beneficial. So you don't have to do all these athletic things like what I mentioned. The goal is just start with wherever you are and slowly progress, and avoid set realistic goals so you don't get frustrated, and don't look at the result. Oh, I've been exercising. Anytime my patients say, Doc, I've been exercising for 3 months, I haven't lost a pound. I said, don't look at the pound, don't look at result, just keep doing it, because you cannot lose weight with exercise unless you really are heavy. So just remember that, right? and combine different exercise, and it could be even gardening, it could be like your housework, whatever it is, you keep moving, don't sit. Okay, and you don't need to go to gym or spend a lot of money. You can do simple exercise, and there are a lot of YouTube videos, you can figure it out. Sleep is very important, and we all have problem. So natural sleep, no medications. Okay, avoid caffeine after noon and alcohol after 6 p.m. in the cold, dark, quiet room. And 6 to 8 hours is, I think, good enough if you can good restful sleep. Okay. And the stress, vagus nerve, insulin resistance, basically stress reduction, which is very important. So if you get stress, you release cortisol, epinephrine, and you get all these insulin resistance. Same thing, if you cannot relax, is going to be the vagus works with the gut brain system and creates all these problems. So try meditation, walking in the nature, helping others, social, right? Get a purpose in life that you want to do something. So all those things will, rather than focusing on, many times we focus too much on career or money or little things, and we forget about how to relax. So that is very important, because that people don't realize the benefits of the proper stress reduction and a good output on the outlook on the life, right? So these are just few guiding principles, that you don't focus on calories, focus on insulin. Try to bring it down. However you do it, doesn't matter. Just do it, right? And eliminate these three bads, guys, right? And then don't be afraid of fat, the healthy fat. And eat whole eggs. This is just like, because don't throw the egg yolk. And these are the environmental toxin, pesticide, herbicides, artificial food additives and stuff, you get it. So try to avoid this as much as you cannot do without it, but try to avoid that. And these are like some of the how to reduce the toxin, like plastic, overheating, cooking in microwaves. Don't ever do that. Use the glass or other stuff. And organic, if you can afford, try to get that, right? And limit the chemical use as much as you can, and ultra processed food. Misconsumption and myths, we talked about. The saturated fat does not cause a problem. Gluten free always is not healthy. Now if you are sensitive to gluten, then it's okay, but otherwise gluten free is not healthier than other. And as I said, if you're exercising, doesn't mean you can eat whatever you want. Diet is very important. And animal products, meat, dairy, eggs, cheese, meat, they are not bad, even given bad rep. So if you are eating it, is okay, as long as your other food items are healthier too, right? And supplements do not replace the dietary deficiency. So try to get all these important vitamins and nutrients through the diet rather than supplements if you can, right? And salt is not always bad. Salt does not cause hypertension. Actually, sugar is. Now, if you have hypertension, if your blood pressure is high, then salt cut down. Otherwise, too much salt cutting down also is not good. Just like in body, nothing is good or bad. It has to be in perfect balance. And these are the principle. It's not a quick fix solution. You have to be patient. You have to be committed. First, you assess your health, where you are in that spectrum I told you, and where you want to go. And to go, what are you willing to sacrifice, or what are you willing to do? Because you can dream about this goal, but if you're not going to able to do it, then it's no use, right? And do it slow so that you don't get frustrated, and understand the science and learn. And whatever I'm telling you, you research and help yourself. This is the knowledge I want to impart. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm telling you this is the evidence. You look at yourself, check it now online or anything, and then apply the principle if you think this is for you, right? And as I said, these lifestyle interventions are more powerful than medication. They have been proven to prevent and reverse chronic disease. 80% cardiovascular risk reduction, which is like amazing, right? 50% diabetes prevention, and nearly 45% remission in type 2 diabetes. So it is important, but it takes a while, and you have to be committed, and you have to kind of be persistent. So make it a life, make it a habit, that food. Don't make it like, oh, I'm on diet or this or that. And these are the medications. So I just want to have like short, I don't know what time we have, but short time the medication. So these are the 4 group of medication which are beneficial for insulin resistance, because just to lower the sugar is not the right way. You have to lower the sugar the right way, right? So the target here is not lowering sugar. Target is to improve insulin sensitivity or resistance. And the metformin is one of the good which works in the liver, right? And then, but they're all like not very, very strongly effective. It will work together with your lifestyle, but the metformin is very good. It's simple, easy, safe drug. Pioglitazone, old Actos, which is also good. It works at the muscles and the fat, insulin resistant. So the metformin works on the liver. Pioglitazone works on muscles and fat. SGLT, like Farxiga, is also good. It works on the kidney and also helps the heart. And the big one, the GLP one, the Ozempic and all this, right? It really works, and it works on pancreas, it works on the gut and the brain to lower the insulin. So in somebody, I would say if somebody is on diabetic on insulin, they should be on this GLP-1 at least, or maybe all four drugs, who knows what. So idea is to get you off of insulin if you can and still keep the sugar down, right? And one of the physician, he did a study where he did combination therapy and he reversed the diabetes in a lot of patients, insulin dependent diabetes also. So it's important. And the second is this. These are the bad ones, right? So these are the two bad medications. That's why I put in the red. So it lowers the blood sugar. So everybody's happy, oh my God, sugar is low, but it worsens the insulin resistance because it lowers the wrong way, right? So glimepiride and glyburide and different names in India also. So they stimulate the pancreas, they beat up the pancreas to produce more insulin, and that will lower the sugar. But problem, we don't have deficient. We have a lot of insulin. We don't want too much insulin. We want to be sensitive to insulin, and to do that, so that's why these drugs fails, and they have already shown that it doesn't improve your cardiovascular risk. Actually, it makes it worse. Same thing with insulin therapy, right? It controls the sugar, but it does not cause the problem. It does not improve the cardiovascular risk. And in final thoughts, so whatever I have shared is based on current evidence, right? The best of what we know, what I know about human biology, disease. But no scientific idea should be immune to challenge. So as our understanding of human body is evolving, as my understanding evolves, we'll have a different suggestions or different insights. So the science is always changing, so we have to be aware of that, right? Unfortunately, many beliefs in the medicine persist not because they are right, but because they go unchallenged. And unless you have courage to ask, what if you have been wrong? Nobody's asking that. What if you have been wrong, giving wrong advice all these years? And those beliefs can linger for generations, causing harm. And medical history is replete with that, right? There are so many previous incidences where bad beliefs persisted for hundreds of years. And I chose to speak about insulin resistance because it's very relevant, deeply relevant, widespread, and most importantly, reversible, highly reversible with right knowledge. And that's what my goal was, to impart the knowledge. So it's a silent rising epidemic, especially rampant and ruthless in places like India, often ignored or dismissed until it's late. But the good news is we can prevent it. And sometimes, often without medication. But if you need medication, that is fine. You just take care of it, right? And so we owe it to our children and grandchildren and younger generation to kind of get into the right habit or mindset so they can improve their health, right? And as a citizen, what is our role besides taking care of our health and our loved ones' health is we must support the natural food systems, local farmers, organic farmers, demand from politicians, hey, don't policies change where we are focused more on the healthy stuff, not this for industry profit, right? Just like that RFK is telling me, but I don't know whether anything will be done, but we need to work on all those things. So the true progress comes with awareness, critical thinking, and courage to ask, to challenge the status quo. So my hope is that this message spreads. This is not a dogma, but it's a revolution, one person, one family at a time. And I guess that's it. Thank you for your attention. I really hope this was worth your time. I know it was fast. I had to kind of, because there's no time to explain everything in detail. And Gujarati, sorry, I couldn't do too much, but maybe Dr. Kensagra can translate and send it later, right?
Yes, thank you very much. Lot of information.
Yes.
Excellent. Enjoy. અને ઘણા બધા મિત્રો
Yes.
જોડાણા અને
Okay.
ઘણા જૂના અમારા કિશોર, ડોક્ટર કિશોર વેકરિયા,
Yeah. Yes.
મારા
Yes.
friend, બધા જોડાણા. ખૂબ આનંદ થયો.
Yeah.
થેન્ક યુ વેરી મચ. હવે એક વાત મારે કરવાની હતી કે આ બધું કરીએ આપણે, સપ્લિમેન્ટ્સ લઈએ, સારી લાઈફસ્ટાઈલ અથવા તો રૂટીનલી. મને ઘણા એવું કહેતા હતા કે તમે તમારું વેઇટ ઓછું કર્યું પ્લસ લાઈફસ્ટાઈલ ચેન્જ કરી, તો ફાયદો શું થયો? એટલે ફાયદો તો ઘણો બધો થયો. ડાયાબિટીસને આઈ કુડ કંટ્રોલ. રિવર્સ તો ખબર નથી, પણ કંટ્રોલ 3 વર્ષથી છે. અને વેઇટ ઓછું થવાને લીધે બ્લડ પ્રેશરની મેડિસિન પણ હાફ થઈ ગઈ.
Exactly.
તો હું આઈ વોઝ ઇન સર્ચ ઓફ અ મશીન, કે એવી કોઈ વસ્તુ હોય કે જે આપણને કહે ખરેખર. અત્યારે આપણે ડોક્ટર પાસે જ્યારે જઈએ છીએ ત્યારે આપણને ડોક્ટર આપણને શું કહે છે? રૂટીન ચેકઅપ કરે, બરાબર ને? ચેકઅપ કરે, પલ્સ લે, બ્લડ પ્રેશર, બ્લડ શુગર ને બધા ટેસ્ટ કરે. પણ એવી કોઈ વસ્તુ નથી કે જેનાથી ડોક્ટર કહી શકે કે ભાઈ તમારી હેલ્થ, ટોટલ હેલ્થ આ પ્રમાણે છે, અથવા આ કરવાથી તમને આટલો બેનિફિટ થયો. એટલે અહીંયા હું જ્યાં રહું છું સોલ્ટ લેક, ત્યાં આ લોકો ઘણા વર્ષોથી એક સ્કેનર વાપરતા હતા, SC3. એટલે એ સ્કેનરની અંદર આપણો સ્કોર આવે. યુઝ્યુઅલી આ રેડ જે છે, કેન યુ સી માય એરો?
Right.
હા, આ રેડ છે એ વર્ષ કહેવાય, અને ધીરે ધીરે આગળ જાય એ બેટર કહેવાય. એટલે મારો એ લોકો ટુ ધેર સરપ્રાઇઝ દે ફાઉન્ડ 84,000 સ્કોર. મને કહે તો ડૉક્ટર તમારો એકદમ હાઈએસ્ટ સ્કોર છે, તમે શું કરો છો? કાંઈ નથી કરતો. આ જે કંઈ રૂટીન લાઈફસ્ટાઈલ છે એ મેં ચેન્જ કરી આપી. હમણાં કીધું ને એક્સરસાઇઝનું. 1.5-2 કલાક તો હું જીમમાં જ આવું જ છું. પછી મેં કીધું આઈ વોન્ટ ટુ મીટ ધી સાયન્ટિસ્ટ હુ ઇઝ વર્કિંગ ઇન ધીસ. તો એમાં આપણા જે CV રામન સાહેબ છે, એમનું ડેટાબેઝ સ્પેક્ટ્રોસ્કોપી, અને એ બધાના ડેટા પરથી AIની મદદથી એ લોકો એક નવી વસ્તુ બનાવી. આ ઓનર છે એમના, ઓનર આ પરિમલ છે, એ મારા નાના બ્રધર છે, એમને ઓળખે, એટલે એ મને લઈ ગયા. અને હી ઇઝ ધ મેઇન સાયન્ટિસ્ટ, બ્રેઇન બિહાઇન્ડ ધીસ. તો મને કે તમારો ટેસ્ટ અમારી બધાની હાજરીમાં કરીએ. એટલે એ લોકોની હાજરીમાં આ ટેસ્ટ કર્યો, એન્ડ દે ફાઉન્ડ ધીસ ઇઝ રિયલી હાઈએસ્ટ. અત્યાર સુધીમાં એમણે જે ટેસ્ટ કર્યો હોય ને એમાં હાઈએસ્ટ હતો. એટલે આ સાયન્ટિસ્ટ છે એ કોમેન્ટ કરતા હતા હાઈએસ્ટ. એટલે હવે ધીમે ધીમે કદાચ એવો સમય આવશે, મને એવું લાગે છે કે લોકો ઓફિસમાં આ રાખશે કે ભાઈ તમે મેડિસિનમાં કે જે કંઈ તમારી જનરલ હેલ્થ કેવી છે એ જોવી હોય તો આને પ્રિઝમ કહે છે. નાનું એવું છે, 15 સેકન્ડમાં પૂરું થઈ જાય. એન્ટીઓક્સિડન્ટ લેવલ કેવું છે એ બધું આપણને એમાં બતાવે છે. અને ટ્રાયલ ચાલુ છે નવા મશીનની, હજી આવ્યું નથી. અને અમારા ઉપર એમણે ડેટા માટે આ બધું કહ્યું હતું. તો આઈ વુડ લવ કે તમારામાંથી કોઈને ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ હોય એમને આપણે પછી મળીશું અને આના વિશે વધારે ડિટેલમાં જાણીશું.
Okay.
પણ ભરતભાઈ, સેલ્યુટ. હા, તમે જોરદાર. ઘણું બધું, પણ આ વધારે થઈ ગયો મારો ડોઝ, સમજ્યા? એટલે મોટી ફીસ્ટ થઈ ગઈ. આવા ઘણા બધા ડોક્ટર્સ છે, એમણે પણ ઘણો સ્ટડી કરેલો છે અને આ પ્રિવેન્શનમાં એમાં ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ લેતા હોય છે. અને એમાં એક ભાણજી કુંડારિયા છે, બરાબર, એઝ અ ફિલેન્થ્રોપિસ્ટ ને મારા ખાસ ફ્રેન્ડ છે. અને એમનું અમે સાથે ભણતા હતા ત્યારે, એને મેરેજ કર્યા ત્યારે, અને અત્યારનું બોડી સરખું જ છે. ઇઝ વેરી મચ હેલ્થ કોન્શિયસ અને ડાયાબિટીસ માટે પણ ઘણું કરે છે. તો આઈ વુડ લાઈક ટુ હેવ ફ્યુ વર્ડ્સ ફ્રોમ ભાણજી કુંડારિયા. અમારા ઇન્સ્ટિટ્યૂટના મોટા સપોર્ટર છે.
Yeah. Hello, hi, Gus.
Hello.
Bharat, this was an excellent presentation.
Thank
Quite
you.
a few, like a little bit controversial and areas we learned, but again, I think this will give us more time to learn. Basically, અમે ત્યાં ઇન્ડિયાની અંદર ગામડે ગામડે જઈને બધાના બ્લડ શુગર ને બ્લડ પ્રેશર ને બધું જે કાંઈ હિમોગ્લોબિન ને માપીએ છીએ. અથવા છેલ્લા 3 મહિના થયા we started hemoglobin A1C. તો લગભગ 300 જણાનું ચેક કર્યું ને, તો એની અંદર લગભગ 80% abnormal આવે છે. So
See?
unbelievable number.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
I think
that's
this is one of the bigger epidemic. If somebody doesn't look
yes.
at this, it will be a very, very dangerous health scenario. And I like to hear from other people, hey, what we can do, how we can make a noise and just make these things a little bit more propagating.
Yes, and I totally agree. And as I said, is 80-90% is rampant, is everywhere, all over the world.
Mhm.
ભરત
Huh.
ભરત can I say something?
Yes, please.
એટલે પેલા ભાઈએ કીધું ને કે શું માપવું, પણ તમે ઇન્ફ્લેમેટરી માર્કર્સ માપો એક્સટર્નલ ટેસ્ટ માટે અને ઇન્ટરનલ તમારા પોતાના માટે એન્થુઝિયાઝમ. તમારી એનર્જીની અવેરનેસ, બીકોઝ હેલ્થ ઇઝ એન્થુઝિયાઝમમાં જે થિયો શબ્દ છે ને એ ભરત તારામાં ભરત જે છે ને એ થિયો છે. એટલે પેલા 5 કોષ હોય ને તમારા, એ જેટલા પાતળા હોય તો તમારી એનર્જી બહાર આવે. એટલે તમારું એન્થુઝિયાઝમ જુઓ કે જિંદગીમાં તમારે કેટલો રસ છે. અને બહાર ઇન્ફ્લેમેટરી માર્કર્સ યુ કેન ટોક અબાઉટ ઇટ એની સન્ડે.
Yeah.
Sir, we would love to have discussion about that. હવે અમારા DC ગ્રુપ ઓફ સાયબર યોગીઝના ફાઉન્ડર બકુલભાઈ વિરડિયા, તમારું કમેન્ટ્સ આજના આપણા પ્રોગ્રામ માટે, કારણ કે હવે ટૂંકમાં આપણે પૂરું કરીએ છીએ હમણાં.
Yeah. Good afternoon, good morning for some time zone.
Yes.
અને મારે ભરતભાઈ તમારા જેવો ઇશ્યુ છે કે ગુજરાતીમાં ઇન્સ્ટ્રક્શન બોલવા શરૂ કરીએ ને એક
I
વાક્ય
know
ગુજરાતીમાં આવે
it's
પછી
hard. I'm not used to it. એટલે
મારે યોગા દરરોજ ચલાવું છું પણ યોગા ઇન્સ્ટ્રક્શન હું ગુજરાતીમાં નથી આપી શકતો.
Oh, okay.
ટ્રાય કરું પણ નથી એનું કળાવતું. એનીવે, પણ વેલકમ ટુ ધ સેશન. અને તમારું આખું સેશન ઇન્ફોર્મેશન બહુ જ સરસ રહી. અને પ્રદીપભાઈ મને પેલું આ સમરીનું કીધું, પણ મેં કીધું તમે આઈટી એન્જિનિયર માટે આ મેડિકલ સાઇડનું આ બધું લખવું નહીં તો રિયલી ટફ કામ છે, ચેલેન્જિંગ વાળું. પણ A to G તમે લાઈફસ્ટાઈલથી શરૂ કરીને અને કયા કયા ટેસ્ટ કરાવવા જોઈએ, કયા નહીં, કેવી રીતે સાયલન્ટલી આપણી અંદર શું ચાલી રહ્યું છે આપણને ખબર નથી પડતી હોતી, આ બધી વસ્તુ યુ ટચ ઘણી બધી વસ્તુઓને તમે બહુ સારી રીતે આપણે એ જોયું ને જાણ્યું. પણ આનો વિડીયો તો અમે ફરી વખત જોઈશું ને 1-2 વાર, ત્યારે થોડું અમારા માટે કે નોન મેડિકલ પીપલ માટે ત્યારે થોડું વધારે સમજાશે. 1-2 વાર જોઈશું ત્યારે. એમાં તમે જે ઇન્સ્યુલિન ટેસ્ટની વાત કરી ને, ધેટ વોઝ રિયલી ગુડ. કે એ ખ્યાલ આવ્યો કે એ વસ્તુ પણ અમે લોકો, ખબર નથી ઇન્સ્યોરન્સ કંપની કવર કરતી હોય કે ના કરતી હોય, પણ કેલ્શિયમ સ્કોરિંગ ટેસ્ટ નથી કરતી, આપણે ખિસ્સામાંથી આપીને કરાવવું પડે છે. એવી રીતે કદાચ આ હોઈ શકે.
ઇન્સ્યુલિન કવર કરશે, વાંધો નહીં. ઇન્સ્યુલિન ઇઝ કવર્ડ.
ઓકે.
અને it only costs
ઇન્ડિયામાં પણ
10 bucks.
કરે છે, પણ બહુ જ ઓછા લોકો જાણે છે એના વિશે. એટલે
But nobody does it. Endocrinologist નહીં કરે. So just have that done. Everybody should get that done.
Bharat, let me interrupt. What is the difference between C-peptide and fasting insulin?
So C-peptide, I think it's so that there's a hormone, pancreas secretes both insulin and C-peptide 1-to-1.
Okay.
So really you don't need C-peptide unless you are on insulin therapy.
Okay.
Because if you're insulin therapy, you don't know whether you're measuring endogenous insulin or outdoor insulin. So that's when you do the C-peptide. Otherwise, it's one of the good measure of insulin. It's exactly 1-to-1 pancreas produces.
Thank you.
Hello, Pradeep.
અમારા બીજા સ્કોલર છે ડોક્ટર જીવનભાઈ. યસ.
Yeah, I have to say something.
ક્લાસમેટ.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Jivan Patel. I'm a cardiologist.
Yep.
I'm a classmate of Pradeep and good friend.
Yes.
First of all, Bharat Bhai, you gave a very excellent talk about important topic and presented very useful information in a concise, short time.
Yes.
So thanks for that. Now, even though the metabolic syndrome is very important, the other important factor, Lp(a).
Right.
There are so many articles written about high Lp(a) causing heart attacks among young Indians.
Yes.
Now, for the audience, I want to mention that if you ask your family practitioner or even a cardiologist, highly unlikely they are going to order the most important test. What happens when they order a lipid panel? It includes only 4 things: total cholesterol, triglyceride, LDL, and HDL. So recently, especially the Quest diagnostic. Now, each lab may have a different heading. So under the heading of cardio IQ, they include everything you showed in your slide with ApoB and LP little a and subfractions and C-reactive protein and all those things. So I would highly recommend most of the people, when you see your doctor, please request to order this specific whole panel. Cardio IQ is the label for Quest diagnostic, but you can Google or ask your doctor how they order. So that's the most important thing. And unfortunately, right now, as far as I know, they don't have a specific treatment available, even though statin may help. But in 10% of the cases, actually, it may aggravate and raise LP little a. So you have to be very careful. Niacin, nicotinic acid may help somewhat, but there are 2 or 3 companies and they are doing the research, and couple of 3 drugs are under investigational stage right now. So you can comment a little bit more on if you want to. Thank you.
અમે તો કેટલા વર્ષોથી ખાઈ છીએ સ્ટેટિન, તો હવે શું કરવું, બંધ કરવી કે ચાલુ રાખવી?
No. Talk to your doctor. Sorry. But give them the, these are the statistics. Show them, hey, for your particular. So it has benefit, and cardiologist, Dr. Jeevan will probably agree. The benefits are there small, and they are from stabilizing the plaques and the inflammatory, anti-inflammatory, anti-thrombotic effect, right? But the lower, we have been told that lowering LDL benefits are minuscule, and that's what I want to stress that. And many times I would have an argument with cardiologists, or they will have controversy. I say, oh, because they are statin. So if you can improve your, so the LP little a, I want to tell you about. So I put it in my slide. So 30% of, I think, Indian South Indians have it. And so if you have LP little a and if you have metabolic resistance, that's a deadly combination. And that's why these young guys are dying, because LP little a carries, so these are all lipoproteins. And since all the doctors are here and we have time, so they all carry different lipids, right? They are the trucks. LDL, HDL, LP. So LP little a carries the dangerous cargo. It only carries the oxidized LDL, and it causes thrombosis. So it's really very strong inflammatory and thrombotic marker. So it's very, very dangerous, right? So, and this is my rationalization thinking, right? It's nothing to do with. So what I was thinking is, we know that the truck is carrying this dangerous cargo, so we can reduce the truck, but I think wouldn't it be better off if you make that cargo less dangerous? So my goal is to, if you have a lot of trucks with this, which is carry only the dangerous toxic cargo, let's reduce the cargo so that they are not dangerous. So improve your overall metabolic health, so the LDL and everything will be less oxidized, the less atherogenic. And that is because there's no other treatment right now. Statin is not going to do, nothing is going to work with LP little a. You are stuck. So only option is you to aggressively reduce metabolic dysfunction, whatever it takes. Take SGLT1, take a lot of medications and diet and everything, because as I said, 80% of the Indians have even hemoglobin A1C. You check, if you check insulin, I bet almost 95% will have, because the hemoglobin A1C, by the time it goes up, it takes 10-15 years of high insulin. So they're already starting atherosclerosis. So,
it's a big message. It's a big message. તમારો મેસેજ કે ભાઈ બ્લડ શુગર લેવલ વધે કે A1C વધે ત્યાં સુધી તમે રાહ જો, એની પહેલા ચેન્જીસ ઘણા બધા થઈ ગયા હોય છે. એટલે આ યંગસ્ટર્સને હું ખાસ તો એમના માટે, કારણ કે આ સિનિયરો બધા છે એમને તો માઇન્ડમાં પ્રોગ્રામિંગ થઈ ગયું હોય છે, જે થાય એમને ચેન્જ કરવા ડિફિકલ્ટ છે. ડાયાબિટીસ હોય કે બીજું હોય, સમજાવવા. પણ નવી જનરેશન છે એમના માટે આ સમજવું મોસ્ટ ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ છે. ને એમાં આપે કહ્યું એમ, શુગર ઇઝ વર્સ્ટ થિંગ. એટલે રોજ રાત્રે આઈસ્ક્રીમ ખાવા જોતો હોય એમને હવે સમજવું જોઈએ કે ભાઈ આઈસ્ક્રીમ અમે પહેલા જે મળતો મહિને એકાદ વાર માંડ મળતો, અત્યારે તો આપણે ડેઈલી ખાઈએ છીએ.
કારણ કે નવી જનરેશન, younger generation છે ને, this is what happened, right? Because they are young, they are healthy. So the aging decreases mitochondria. So they have a healthy, robust mitochondria, so they can do all the insult and nothing happens for a long time. So they think they are okay, oh no, life is good, I want to enjoy. life is too short, that kind of thing. So I mean, if that's a trend, tendency, the life will be too short, if they do that. So I think I want to focus. That's why I say you can share it with your kids and grandkids and youngsters, and let them learn. Because I think we have been getting wrong advice, and that's you cannot blame them, right? Nobody's still they are following. American Heart says sexual fat less than 10%, and I have a big argument with that, but that's my opinion.
Right. અમારા
ભરત
જોય
ભરત
એકેડેમીના છે અમારા
બોલો.
ડિરેક્ટર અને ફાઉન્ડર અને અમારા એડવાઇઝર અને મેન્ટર રમણભાઈ રામા. રમણભાઈ, યોર કોમેન્ટ.
બેઝિકલી સહેલામાં સહેલી વસ્તુ કરવા જેવી છે બધાને આ ઉંમરે, એ ઇન્ટરમિટન્ટ ફાસ્ટિંગ છે.
યસ.
તમે 11 વાગે સવારે ખાવાનું ચાલુ કરો અને 7 વાગે તમે ખાવાનું બંધ કરો, એટલે તમારા 14 કલાક 16 કલાક ઇન્ટરમિટન્ટ ફાસ્ટિંગ થઈ જાય. એટલે એનો અર્થ એમ થયો કે બ્રેકફાસ્ટ તમે સ્કીપ કરી નાખો. આનાથી 1 મહિનામાં 1 પાઉન્ડ વજન ઘટી જાય છે ઓટોમેટિકલી. તમે એક્સરસાઇઝ કરો કે ના કરો તોય ઘટી જાય છે. અને એ ડાયાબિટીસ માટે, હાર્ટ માટે, લીવર માટે બધામાં જ આ કામ આવે છે. ભરતભાઈ, આઈ વુડ લાઈક ફોર યુ ટુ substantiate my comment, because I don't want to give a medical advice when I am in the hotel industry.
No. So I even put it on my slide. If you see my slide, right, it says time restricted feeding. So between 8-hour windows or 16-hour fast. And I prefer our Indian style no che heavy lunch and light supper is even much better. And then so 16 hours thaya, but if you can even extend to 24 hours, maybe once a week or once a month, it's tremendously beneficial, absolutely beneficial.
આ તો હું દરરોજની વાત કરું છું. દરરોજ
કરવાનું જ. દરરોજ તો કરવાનું જ.
કરો અને સાંજે 7 વાગ્યા સુધીમાં તમારું ડિનર પતાવી દો.
એક્ઝેક્ટલી.
તો પછી તમારે ઓટોમેટિક 16 કલાક ફાસ્ટિંગ થઈ જ જાય છે. રાત સાંજે 7 વાગ્યા પછી તમને ભૂખ લાગતી બી નથી અને સવારે 11 વાગ્યા પહેલા તમને ભૂખ લાગતી નથી.
યસ. And it's very important.
Yeah, ડાયાબિટીસમાં મેં ભરતભાઈ જોયું, ડાયટ ઇઝ વેરી 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 ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ. અને જ્યારે સાંજના ઓછું ખાઈએ, વહેલા ખાઈ લઈએ છીએ તો આખી રાત શુગર એકદમ પરફેક્ટ રહે છે.
યસ.
બિલો 100. પણ જો આઈસ્ક્રીમ ને બીજું બધું ખવાઈ જાય છે પછી પ્રોબ્લેમ ખવાઈ જાય મોડે.
મારી બધાને વિનંતી છે કે તમે 1 અઠવાડિયું ટ્રાય કરી જુઓ અને તમને પોતાને સારું લાગશે. તમને પોતાની એનર્જી વધારે લાગશે, ભૂખ ઓછી લાગશે. તમે પાણી પી શકો છો, તમે ચા કોફી પી શકો છો, પણ મતલબમાં ખોરાક નહીં લેવાનો.
તમે તો યુ હેવ પ્રૂવન ઇટ. તમારા ફેમિલીમાં બધાએ કર્યું છે. દર્શનને ફોલો કરતો હતો, એને પણ કર્યું છે. ધેર આર લોટ ઓફ બેનિફિટ્સ. ઇન્ડિયાથી ડોક્ટર કનુભાઈ પંચાલ છે, હી ઇઝ અ સર્જન, લેપ્રોસ્કોપિક સર્જન. તમારી ટૂંકી કોમેન્ટ આપજો, ટાઈમ ઘણો થઈ ગયો છે. અને પછી થેન્ક્સ ભાઈ ભાસ્કરભાઈ સુરેજા, અમારા ડાયરેક્ટર.
થેન્ક યુ એવરીબડી. યસ.
યુ આર અનમ્યુટેડ ભાઈ, અનમ્યુટ કરજો ડોક્ટર પંચાલ, અનમ્યુટ. આ બધી ટેકનોલોજી હવે શીખવી પડશે. નહીં, ઝૂમમાં જ રોજ મળાય છે, આમ રૂબરૂ તો નથી મળતું. અનમ્યુટ કરતો ભાઈ.
યસ.
નહીં તો ગમે તેટલું બોલીશ ને કોઈને નહીં સંભળાય. ના અનમ્યુટ કરવું પડશે.
ભરત, ત્યાં સુધી 1-2 મિનિટ લઉં.
હા, બોલો.
Yeah, take your everybody talk, guys, comment please. We want.
Yeah, see that one thing is this subject is so huge.
Yes.
That 1 hour creates a stress. અને આપણે સ્ટ્રેસ એવોઇડ કરવાની વાત કર્યા કરીએ છીએ. તમે આટલું બધું ભલું કામ કર્યું તો પણ તમે અત્યારે we are getting late. એક આખું એક આફ્ટર સેશન મોર્નિંગ કેવું એક સેશન રાખો. બીજું એ વાત કરતા હતા કે પેલા ભાઈ જે 14 કલાકનું કીધું ને, તો જો 16 કલાક કરો ને તો એ ઓટોફેજી થાય. એટલે તમારા બોડીમાંથી એની ક્રોનિક ડિસીઝ જતો રહે. એને ઓટોફેજી કહે છે. એને 2016માં નોબેલ પ્રાઇઝ મળ્યું છે મેડિસિન માટે. તો યુ કેન લુક ઇટ અપ. પણ 14 અને સવારે તમે ચા દૂધ કોફીનું એમણે કીધું, પણ એમાં ખાંડ કે દૂધ નાખો ને તો ફાસ્ટ તૂટી જાય છે. એટલે શું છે કે દરિયા કિનારે જઈને ખાલી છીપલા વીણવા કરતા તમે થોડું અંદર જાઓ તો મોતી બી મળી શકે એમ છે. પણ મને એમ લાગે છે કે આવું હેરી ડિસ્કશન ભરત જેવો પ્રેઝન્ટર હોય તો એને તો તમારે 4 કલાક એની જોડે વાર્તાલાપ અને એવું કઈક જેમ મોરારી બાપુની કથા હોય છે ભરતની એક કથા રાખવી જોઈએ.
Actually, that is what I was thinking. આખી વર્કશોપ રાખીએ તો જ આ આપણે થઈ શકે.
કારણ કે
Minimum
that's so
5
much.
hours.
Yes.
Minimum 5 hours. Yeah.
Because it's a
Right.
lot of information,
Right.
and I can go in details everything because I've studied really the biology and physiology, because
Yes.
I try to understand why we are having this, not just like, because body does not work like that. It's very complex and it has all these checks and balances. So why is failing, So it's very fascinating. I'm just
Yeah. કનુ, yes, ડોક્ટર કનુ પંચાલ, અને પછી આપણે ભાસ્કરભાઈ, વોટ ઓફ થેન્ક્સ. કનુભાઈ અનમ્યુટ કર્યો તો ફરીથી અનમ્યુટ કરો. હમણાં ચિત્તરંજનભાઈએ કહ્યું ને એમ, આ અમુક વખત આ તો થોડા ટાઈમમાં સ્ટ્રેસ વધી જાય પાછું. ડોક્ટર પંચાલ.
હું સાયકાટ્રિસ્ટ છું એટલે કોઈ દિવસ
Oh,
ભરત જોડે
yes, you can read our face.
ના એટલે કોઈક વખત હું પણ મનમાંથી ચિત્ત જવાની વાત કરીશ.
ઓકે, એ અનમ્યુટ નથી કરી શકતો, કંઈક રિએક્શન એ નથી ફેસ ઉપર, મને લાગે. કનુભાઈ પંચાલ. ઓકે, ભાસ્કરભાઈ. કિશોરભાઈ, તમારે કઈ કેવું છે? તમારા મિત્રએ બહુ સરસ કહ્યું. કિશોરભાઈ તમારા મિત્ર, પણ એના ફાધર મારા ફાધરના ફ્રેન્ડ હતા, સમજ્યા?
yes.
અનમ્યુટ કરવો પડે કિશોર, નીચે.
unmute કરો પેલું mic button.
રાઈટ.
Bharat is very smart. He is very dedicated on the subject. So
Not smart, but I'm just
Thank
passionate
you.
about it. And this I'll only learn, fortunately, about the last 2 years.
ઘણા બધા છે. અમારા વલ્લભભાઈ ભેંસદડિયા સાહેબ છે, એજ્યુકેશન ના પેલા ડિરેક્ટર, ગુજરાત એજ્યુકેશન ડિરેક્ટર. હા, ભાસ્કરભાઈ.
Yes, sir.
હા, કનો સંભળાય છે. યા
બોલો.
Bharatbhai.
બોલો.
Bharatbhai, very nice to hear you. I am Dr. Panchal from Godhra, from India. Actually, I am to say only nice to hear you. I am to say, because being a surgeon, still I am getting so many diabetic patients.
Yes.
The maximum patient, they come with a diabetic food.
Yes.
First thing I would like to say that in India, my patients or all over the general public, they don't know what is diabetes. So the main thing comes to the doctor that they need a lot of counseling, because they will have to say, otherwise when the patient comes with a diabetes, we give the medicine, they come with a report, my report is normal, they have stopped the medication. So I am just telling them, why you have stopped the medicine? So, okay, sir, my report has come normal, so I don't want to take, my disease has gone. So basically, they don't know, okay, what is diabetes. So that is first is the counseling. Second thing I would like to say, diet and exercise, or diet and walk, they should go parallel. Both the thing, then and then we are going to get the report. And it is very nice regarding the medication. Okay, we will have to use a minimum medication, because many a patient has come with a diabetes, he is loaded with the statins and so many other medication. So that's why the patient is also tired taking by so many medicines. So the doctors has to, I think they should ask them, they should do more and more counseling, and we'll have to say, these are the medications you will have to take it.
Yes.
So this is just my few words to you, and nice to give me a chance to speak. Thank you, Pradeep. Thank you, Bharat.
Absolutely.
તને ઇન્ડિયામાં ખ્યાલ હોય કે ના હોય, અહીંયાથી ડોક્ટર ઠાકોરભાઈ પટેલ કરીને છે, એ ગામડે ગામડે બધાના બ્લડ શુગર માટેનું અને ડાયાબિટીસનો અવેરનેસનો પ્રોગ્રામ કરે છે. ઇફ યુ વોન્ટ, હું એમને કહીશ, તમારો કોન્ટેક્ટ કરશે. રાજકોટ ડિસ્ટ્રિક્ટની અંદર તો એક્સેલન્ટ જોબ કરે છે એ ડોક્ટર ઠાકોર, નેફ્રોલોજીસ્ટ છે.
ના, ચોક્કસ એમને મળવાનું કહેજે, અને અમે અમારા ડિસ્ટ્રિક્ટમાં બી we will have something for the people.
તો યુએસએ છે, પણ એમનો ત્યાં બધું વ્યવસ્થિત નેટવર્ક છે, and they are doing excellent job. Yes, ભાસ્કરભાઈ.
Yes, sir. આપણે પૂરું કરીએ છીએ ને, આભાર માની લો બધા.
યસ. હા, કારણ કે
ડોક્ટર ભરતભાઈ દેસાઈએ એટલું બધું સરસ વર્ણન કર્યું છે, એટલે તમારે જે લોકો મેડિકલ પ્રોફેશનમાં જાય એને તો સડસડાટ પાણીની જેમ ઉતરી જાય ઘૂંટડો. પણ અમે નથી મેડિકલમાં, એને અમને અડધો ટકો તો ઉતરી ગયો, 50% ઉપર. એટલી સરળ રીતે, પણ થોડુંક ઇંગ્લિશમાં વધારે બોલતા હતા. એ રીતે ઓબ્વિયસલી હવે અમેરિકામાં પ્રેક્ટિસ કરતા હોય એટલે ગુજરાતી ઓછું બોલાય. પણ બધાય કન્ક્લુઝન વચ્ચે, અને આભાર માનું એ પહેલા ડોક્ટર પ્રદીપભાઈ આપનો જોય એકેડેમી તરફથી, ભાઈ બકુલભાઈ વિરડિયા તમારો ડીસી સાયબર યોગા ગ્રુપ તરફથી, અને એની ઉપર ઓન ઓફ ધી ટાપ આપણે દર્શનભાઈ કળસાંગરાનો આભાર માનું છું કે એ દર વખતે આપને બધું આ કોર્ડિનેશન કરી આપે છે અને બહુ સારી રીતે ટાઈમે આપે છે. એટલે પ્રદીપભાઈ એ પછી મોરના ઈંડા ચિતરવા ના પડે, આ એના જેવું છે દર્શનભાઈનો, તમારો દીકરો છે. હવે આ સેમિનાર ખરેખર આ બધાએ વચ્ચે સલાહ આપી, કોઈને નામ નહીં લઉં, કે અને પ્રદીપભાઈ તમે કીધું કે આપણે વર્કશોપમાં આને પરિવર્તન કરી આવો તો શું થાય કે આ ડોક્ટર ભરતભાઈ દેસાઈ જેવાનો લાભ આપણે પૂરેપૂરો લઈ શકીએ. આમ એના પેશન્ટ થઈને જાવ તો એ તો 15 મિનિટમાં કાઢી મૂકે, બધું બરાબર છે. એટલે આપણે વધુમાં વધુ લાભ લઈએ એવું મારી ઈચ્છા છે. અને સૌનો આભાર. અને આજે આપણે ફૂલ સ્ટ્રેન્થમાં માણસો વેબિનારમાં જોડાઈ ગયા. મને એમ લાગે છે કે આપણી સંખ્યા હતી એનાથી ઘણા વેઇટિંગમાં હશે એવું હું જોતો હતો.
100 પછી વેઇટિંગમાં હતા, પણ હવે એક પછી 2-5 જણા ગયા ને એમાં બધું.
હા, પણ 100 નો આંકડો બહુ જાજો સમય સુધી 100 નો આવ્યો. અને ડોક્ટર ભાણજીભાઈ કુંડારિયા, બીજા તમારા સિનિયર ડોક્ટરો બધાએ જે ભરતભાઈ ના વખાણ કર્યા. હવે ડોક્ટરો જ જો ડોક્ટર ભરતભાઈ દેસાઈ ના વખાણ કરે તો હવે અમારે જેવા તો અમારે તેનો લાભ જ લેવાનો છે ગુજરાતીમાં. નેક્સ્ટ ટાઈમ થોડુંક ભરતભાઈ ગુજરાતી થોડું
ચોક્કસ.
કારણ કે આ બકુલભાઈ અમારે કહેતા હતા કે યોગા શીખવે તો પાછા ઇંગ્લિશમાં ચડી જાય.
ભાસ્કરભાઈ આપણે આ ભરતભાઈ ની ટેલિવિઝન જેવું લાગ્યું. આમાં તો રૂબરૂ મુલાકાત કરવી પડે એવું છે.
આ છે ને દેશી ભાષામાં કહું ને તો રાતે ગામડામાં ભવાઈ ના આવતી. રાતે ગામડામાં ભવાઈ આવતા, ખબર? પેલા ભવાઈ કહેતા ને, ભવાઈ. એ 4 વાગે ભૂંગળું વગાડે, પણ સાચો ખેલ રાતે હોય. તમે ખાલી ભૂંગળી 4 વાગે ગામને જાણ કરી કે ભાઈ હું આવ્યો છું, તો હવે તમારો લાભ પ્રદીપભાઈ ને વિનંતી કરીશ કે ભાઈ તમારો લાભ હવે બધાને આપીએ. પાછું આપવાની દિશામાં તમે પહેલ કરો છો ને સાહેબ, એ મોટી વાત છે.
ના, મારો ઈચ્છા તો છે ગામડામાં બી ઇન્ડિયામાં જઈને either maybe also educate the doctors everywhere too, I guess, many times even in India and everything, and the લોકોને બી કે ભાઈ આ વસ્તુની ઇમ્પોર્ટન્સ. એટલે
તમને એની જો પ્રેરણા લેવી હોય ને, હું જ્યાં સુધી મારા સંપર્કને હું ઓળખું છું કે હું આમાં ઇન્ડિયામાં એક્ટિવ છું, પણ ડોક્ટર ભાણજીભાઈ કુંડારિયા અને ડોક્ટર પ્રદીપભાઈ કળસાંગરા છે ને, આ બે મોટી પ્રેરણા મૂર્તિ છે. આપણે એની હાજરીમાં કહી છે ને, એને ગમતું નથી, પણ they are doing a lot of. એમાં ભાણજીભાઈ કુંડારિયા તો ગામડે જઈને કરે છે.
વેરી ગુડ. I like.
તો સૌનો આભાર. ટાઈમ થઈ ગયો છે. પ્રદીપભાઈ, બીજું કઈ કહેવાનું છે?
ના, બસ આ ડોક્ટર કમલભાઈ પરીખ આપણા ડાયાબિટીસ માટેનો આખો પ્રોજેક્ટ આપણે જે કરીએ છીએ ને, એના મેઇન ફિઝિશિયન, પણ એ ટ્રાવેલિંગમાં છે, દ્વારકાથી આવે છે, એટલે જોડાઈ નહોતા શક્યા. એટલે એમનો મેસેજ આવ્યો છે. ઇટ વોઝ એક્સેલન્ટ, ઇન્ફોર્મેટિવ ટોક. બરાબર, આમાં છે જ મેસેજમાં લખે છે.
ગુડ.
વેરી ગુડ.